Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to the Fairly Decent podcast. I am your host, Jason, and this week we're gonna try to touch on, just kind of some mindfulness and like clear minds and like the way of thinking. I've had a couple conversations, over the past couple of weeks, and I get a lot of people who ask, like, how amongst all of this stuff that you've gone through, like, how do you maintain this sort of like level-headedness or calmness or, just this way of thinking that, you don't really let a whole lot of things bother you. And this is something that I've been working on, definitely very recently, but something that I've always been thinking about, throughout my whole life. It's a lot easier said than done, but it is something that when I was admitted to the hospital that I really started, taking seriously because, with so many thoughts going through your head at one time, you really have to try to find a way to kind of put it all together, So I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience and some of the things that I do or that I've been taught to kind of deal with some of these things. And again, I say this a lot. By no means do I have this shit figured out. This is something that I still work on every day. I just do these kind of things, in the hopes that you might be able to pull one or two things from these podcasts, that you can apply to your life. I'm most certainly not talking to anyone directly. Again, these are all just my experiences, and I put it out there, like I said, in the hopes that somebody can take bits and pieces of it and, apply it to their life. Right. So getting into it, like, our brains are always changing. I hope everybody knows that. I mean, that's kind of a blanket statement, they're always changing, and it's almost always involuntarily, right? Like it never really happens on purpose. You kind of go through things and your way of thinking may change, positively or negatively, but it's almost involuntarily, and I went through several years dealing with, anxiety and depression and constant like negative thoughts about myself, always thinking I wasn't good enough or smart enough or capable of like someone thinking highly of me. I constantly rejected the idea that I was worth anything, because I had nothing to show for myself, no house, no wife, no kids, nothing to my name, and looking in hindsight, a lot of those thoughts came, because my mind was always taking in these new thoughts, but, I wasn't actually ever, processing the thoughts. You kind of just take thoughts as they come and you kind of just react on sight. And, that's kind of one of the things I want to talk about today is, just kind of processing these thoughts before you, go to the extreme. And I bring it up a lot because it was just probably the biggest experience of my life, but being in the hospital for months, really is a test of the mind because you have, all of this chaos going around you, right? But there's like nothing you can do about it because you're stuck there. You can't go home. You can't just get up and have a room change, So I had no choice but to find this new way to like deal with the thoughts that are like going on in my mind, and it didn't come right away. And, that's kind of the first step in clearing your mind, is to know that it's just not going to come right away. Like, it's not a switch that you can just kind of flick on. It takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of patience. So, whether it was the uncontrolled environment or, maybe starting therapy, I had to stop letting these negative things around me control my thinking. That was kind of the first big step for me, was just, knowing that some things you just can't control. And, that's a big part of, just everyday life. And it's not like I stopped caring or stopped giving a fuck, It's actually like quite the opposite, but like with a much more like focused and reasonable thought process. Like, I started actually processing, what was being said to me, because, more oftentimes than not, we just take things that are said to us or about us, just on the surface level of words, We make a pre-thought in our head without even processing, what was even said to us. So that for me was like, again, the probably the biggest step, and it was the first one for me, was just, knowing that I was in an uncontrolled environment, and I had to start processing the things that were being, said to me. Not just only like the information that was being, given to me, but actually processing what was being said, because you go into something with like this preconceived notion, of negativity or even positivity. I had to learn to start thinking and processing things with a clear mind instead of, again, having a preconceived bias against what's like going on. I had to put the bias aside. I had to put the history behind me. I had to start fresh. I had a brand new slate. I wanted everything, to be clear-headed. And this kind of took a long time to develop because, you're in the hospital for one thing, and, all of these doctors and friends and anybody who knows your situation kind of just has this thought, or at least that's what you think. You think these people just have this thought. So all of your emotions and all of your reactions are preconceived. And I just wanted to stop that. I wanted to not make a decision on how I was going to act before that decision needed to be made. And that's probably like the best advice I could give, just starter level stuff, is just stop going into, life with this already made up decision in your head of how it's going to go, because you've already kind of not given yourself a chance to succeed, or you've already, put a limit on what you can do, or like the amount of happiness you can have. Just go into it with a clear mind. Don't react, right away. Go into it and process each bit of information that you're given, whether it's in relationships, at your job, whatever the case may be. Just give yourself a space in your head so that you can process all of this information that you're taking in. And as we like talk about this idea of like clear-headedness and this idea of like processing information, you have to combine this idea of thinking with, just knowing who you are as a person. Be honest with yourself. Oftentimes we react the way we do because of like, internal struggles we have within ourselves. It kind of goes back to the old statement, which I believe to be very true now, which is, hurt people hurt people. And, a lot of people react involuntarily just because of some of the internal struggles they have within themselves. So, just know who you are as a person and allow yourself to be okay with who you are. Love yourself. Like I found that I was able to come to way more understandings, with people or with myself when I realized who I was. And part of that was, kind of erasing this old idea of myself with like a fresh start. And, I finally was able to look myself in the mirror and know who I am and really love the person that I look at. And I think that's what kind of allows me to, treat all of these situations and just life, with a better understanding, because I know who I am and I'm honest with who I am, and I like the person that I see. So me reacting, prematurely, didn't have to happen anymore. And then like on top of that, I started realizing that some things just are. We're we're quick to beat ourselves up because of, one bad thing happening, or, something that's out of your control. Some things you just have to question. Like, one, is it worth it? Like, I know that sounds bad and like you don't give a fuck, but like as humans, we take so many things and blow it out of proportion, or give energy to things that, just aren't worth it. So just ask yourself, like, before you give any sort of response, like I said, process the information first, and then just ask yourself, like, is this worth, the energy that I'm gonna give it? Just that realization that, like, some things just are, people are different, things are different. You just have to start realizing that some things just are, and you have to come to terms with that and be okay with that. That's kind of what allowed me to kind of get through, this hospital adventure, because some things just were, I was in the hospital. I couldn't go home. I couldn't eat. I couldn't drink water for, days and days and days on end. And once I learned that, this is just the way that it is right now. It's out of my control. It's not something that is going to change right now. I was able to process the information going further. I was able to process it more clearly because, it's a situation that I could not control. So there was either two options. I was just going to be mad every single day about everything, or I was going to process the information that was given to me, and I could then make a clear-headed, reaction to it. And most times than not, it was always a positive reaction, because going into everything, like I said, with this negative attitude was just not going to get me anywhere. So, I stayed positive and I stayed clear-headed, and, I just took things as they came, and I was honest with myself. And, I had a long talk with myself in the mirror, and I come to terms with what was happening and who I was and the person that I was going to be. And like I said, that just opened my mind to so many more ways of thinking in any given situation at this point. And so, like, back to this, some things just are, you got to pick and choose, like, who and what you give your energy to, because it can be, like, so exhausting trying to give everything that comes your way your complete energy. I think that's why a lot of us, even me included, are stressed a lot. We give too many things way too much energy for an outcome, that is almost always not worth it. I know everybody who's listening right now can think of a time that they have just given something so much energy, for an outcome that just wasn't worth it. Go into any situation, again, process the information before you make a reaction. Ask yourself, is this energy worth it? And if it's not, just know that some things are. That's kind of just how all three of these things kind of like coincide, or whatever I'm trying to say. You know what I mean? That's how these three things can exist. Process it. Ask yourself, is it worth the energy? If it's not, then just accept that some things are. And, we may dive into it a little bit more in a later episode. I just kind of wanted to give my three little basic theories behind this whole idea, of like clear-headedness and open-mindedness, and just treating each situation as its own and trying not to lump your entire life into one situation. Because like I said, I've had some conversations recently, and I always get this question of, how do you just maintain this level of like calmness or easygoingness, or just not getting stressed out about these things that are going on. And, I just, like I said, I've just combined these three things, and it has helped my life immensely. It's literally been probably one of the best changes in my life that I've made. And, I hope that you guys can take some of these things and apply it to your life if need be. And if you're already in this space, awesome. Not everybody's there. So, it takes time, it takes patience. But as long as you try to practice it every single day, it's going to come. It's the same thing with manifesting it. Like if you just practice these little theories every single day, it's going to come. And so if you're looking to change, your view on life, or just, try to not be so stressed out all the time, I would just recommend some of these things. There's a ton of things that work and everybody's different. So like I said, I'm just speaking from my experience, but if somebody can take some of these ideas and apply it to their life, great. So I'm going to kind of end it there. Thank y'all for coming back again this week. The love and support has still been amazing. It's unbelievable. I can't thank y'all enough. We're going to do something special here soon. I'm not going to give any details on that. It might be a little bit down the road, but we're going to do something really, really special here soon. Habituations is still on the way. I know I said March. Here it is, April, but it is what it is. But thank y'all for coming back again this week. Continue to support. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't yet. A lot of you haven't yet, and I still don't understand why. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.